What if I told you that the smooth-sailing luxury car sitting in your neighbor's driveway, the legendary police cruiser that racked up 500,000 miles, a tire-shredding supercharged Mustang known as the Terminator, and an exotic hypercar that briefly held the crown as the fastest production car on planet Earth, all share the exact same heart? It sounds almost impossible. How could one single engine architecture be versatile enough to power a lazy daily driver, a heavy-duty work truck, a screaming track weapon, and a world record-setting hypercar? The answer lies in one of the most controversial, daring, and surprisingly indestructible engines Ford ever built, the 4.6-liter Modular V8. Welcome back to Auto Modus, your ultimate destination for everything automotive history, engineering breakdowns, and classic muscle. If you love deep dives into the legendary engines that shape the car world, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Now, let's step back in time to the early 1980s. Ford was facing a massive crisis behind closed doors. Their iconic 5.0-liter pushrod V8, an engine loved by millions, was rapidly running out of steam. Tightening government emissions regulations and fuel economy standards were squeezing the old small block architecture to its absolute limits. Ford knew that if they wanted to survive the upcoming decade, they needed a radical shift. Enter Donald Peterson, the vice president of design at Ford, who handed a massive challenge to lead engineer Jim Clark. Peterson didn't just ask for a small upgrade. He asked Clark to design an entirely new engine architecture from scratch, one that could replace both the legendary small block V8s and the massive 385 series big block engines, all while meeting modern efficiency goals. Clark and his engineering team took on the challenge, and what they created over the next few years would fundamentally change Ford's future. In 1991, Ford unveiled their very first mass production overhead cam V8. But why was it called the Modular V8? Contrary to popular belief, it wasn't named because the parts inside were easily interchangeable like Lego bricks. The name actually came from the manufacturing process itself. Ford modularized the tooling and production methods between their Windsor and Romeo manufacturing plants. This clever engineering move allowed Ford to swap tooling quickly, reduce manufacturing costs, and produce millions of engines at scale across cars, trucks, and vans. When you look at the blueprint specifications, the 4.6-liter Modular V8 featured a square design with a 90.2mm bore and a 90mm stroke. The overhead camshaft setup allowed for tighter internal tolerances, narrower piston rings that drastically cut friction, higher peak RPM capabilities, and significantly lower emissions compared to traditional pushrod setups. Jim Clark set an ambitious goal during development. He wanted this new engine to run for 100,000 miles without requiring a single major maintenance service. Aside from a few early design hiccups with spark plug threads and intake manifolds, the team pulled off a total engineering miracle. The 4.6-liter mod motor made its quiet debut in the 1991 Lincoln Town Car. Utilizing a simple, single overhead cam, 2-valve per cylinder design, it pushed out 210 horsepower. While muscle car diehards missed the instant low-end grunt of the old pushrod 5.0-liter, the new engine revved higher, delivered much smoother power, achieved better fuel economy, and was vastly quicker than the 160 horsepower pushrod engine from the year before. By 1992, Ford expanded the 2-valve motor into the Crown Victoria and the Mercury Grand Marquis. However, Ford hesitated on one huge decision. They refused to put the modular engine into the iconic Mustang GT right away. They knew Mustang buyers demanded raw performance, and the early 2-valve motor just didn't have enough punch to satisfy the enthusiasts. So while the Mustang kept its trusted pushrod engine for a few more years, Ford engineers were secretly cooking up something far more powerful. In 1993, Ford introduced a game-changing upgrade, a 4-valve per cylinder dual overhead cam DOHC version of the Modular V8. Debuting in the sleek Lincoln Mark 8, this high-tech engine pumped out 280 horsepower and 285 pound-feet of torque. To put that into perspective, that luxurious Lincoln made more power than the flagship Fox-body Mustang Cobra of the same year. This massive leap in performance proved that the modular design had incredible hidden potential. Finally, in 1996, the moment arrived. Ford dropped the 4.6-liter Modular V8 into the SN95 Mustang. Buyers had two distinct choices. The Mustang GT received the 2-valve single overhead cam motor, making 215 horsepower, while the high-performance SVT Cobra received the roaring 4-valve dual overhead cam engine, producing a massive 305 horsepower. What made the 1996 SVT Cobra extra special was its block. Cast in Italy by Teksid, a subsidiary of Fiat, these early aluminum blocks were exceptionally light and ridiculously strong. To this day, car builders consider the Italian Teksid block to be one of the most durable production aluminum blocks ever created. Here is a quick question for all of you watching right now. Which version of the Mustang would you rather own? The lightweight aluminum block SVT Cobra or a classic 2-valve GT? Drop your answer in the comments below. Driving these two cars offered completely different experiences. While the 2-valve GT delivered modest daily driving power, the 4-valve Cobra was an absolute high-revving animal. Once you crossed 4,000 revolutions per minute, the 4-valve engine completely transformed, pulling hard all the way to redline, with an incredible exhaust note that remains one of the best American V8 sounds ever created. As the late 1990s rolled around, Ford expanded the modular family even further. In 1997, they introduced stroked-up variants, a 5.4-liter V8 and a massive 6.8-liter V10, both going into the F-Series trucks, E-Series vans, and Expeditions, under the famous Triton nameplate. Then, in 1999, Ford supercharged the 5.4-liter modular motor for the SVT F150 Lightning truck, producing a blistering 360 horsepower and 440 pound-feet of torque. By this time, Ford was building 4.6-liter engines in two primary factories, Windsor and Romeo. True engine enthusiasts know there are subtle differences between the two. Windsor engines typically feature press-on cam gears, 13 or 14 valve cover bolts, 8-bolt crankshafts, and floating piston wrist pins. Romeo engines, on the other hand, usually have bolt-on cam gears, 11 valve cover bolts, 6-bolt crankshafts, and press-fit wrist pins. In 1999, Ford gave the 2-valve Mustang GT a major power boost with performance improved, or PI, cylinder heads and intake manifolds. Horsepower jumped from 215 up to 260. The best part for home mechanics? These PI heads could easily be retrofitted back onto older pre-1999 engine blocks for a massive budget horsepower upgrade. As the early 2000s arrived, the Modular V8 reached legendary performance heights. In 2003, Ford released the iconic supercharged SVT Cobra, nicknamed the Terminator. To handle the immense boost from the factory supercharger, Ford swapped out the aluminum block for a heavy-duty cast iron block. Producing 390 horsepower right off the showroom floor, Terminator Cobras could easily handle over 700 horsepower on stock internal components with simple aftermarket modifications. Around the same time, foreign boutique automakers took notice. Companies like De Tomaso, Marcos, and Panoz started putting Ford's modular V8 into their sports cars. But the absolute peak of the modular engine's glory came in 2005, when Swedish hypercar manufacturer Koenigsegg used a heavily modified twin supercharged 4.6-liter modular V8 inside the Koenigsegg CCR. Producing a staggering 806 horsepower, the CCR shattered the official speed record to become the fastest production car on Earth. Let me know in the comments, did you know that a Ford modular engine held the world land speed record before Bugatti took over? By 2005, Ford introduced a 3-valve per cylinder setup on the S197 Mustang GT, pushing naturally aspirated power to 300 horsepower. But as modern rivals like the Chevy Camaro LS3 and Dodge Hemi V8s emerged in the late 2000s, Ford knew it was time for the next evolution. They designed a brand new 5.0-liter engine built on the exact physical dimensions of the modular V8, so it would drop right into existing vehicles. That engine became the world-famous 5.0-liter Coyote V8. Without the risky, groundbreaking engineering of the 1.6 and 4.6 modular V8 in the early 1990s, the modern Coyote V8 we love today would simply not exist. From high-mileage Crown Victoria police cruisers to record-breaking hypercars, the modular V8 proved to be one of the most reliable, adaptable, and indestructible engine families in automotive history. Thank you so much for watching Auto Modus. If you enjoyed this journey through Ford history, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment with your favorite modular V8 car, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dive auto content every single week. We'll see you in the next video.